So picture this, the early 13th century. You have one of the most powerful empires in the Islamic world, the Khwarezmian Empire. It's huge, it's wealthy, and in just 2 years, it's literally wiped off the map. This is the story of how one single, massive diplomatic insult unleashed the absolute fury of Genghis Khan and his Mongol army and totally changed the course of history.
Right, let's just dive straight into the heart of it, because everything, I mean everything, hinges on this one question. How on earth does a trait mission, something meant to build peaceful relationships, spiral into one of the most brutal wars of the entire medieval period? It's an incredible story of pride, fatal miscalculations, and just terrifying consequences.
Okay, so to really get this, we gotta set the scene. The year is around 1218. Genghis Khan has just pulled off the impossible by uniting all the scattered nomadic tribes of the Mongolian steppe. He's forged this incredible force, the Mongol Empire. And as he expands, his new empire pushes right up against the borders of another superpower, the Khwarezmian Empire, ruled by Shah Muhammad II. You've got two giants about to meet for the very first time. Now, here's the kicker. Genghis Khan wasn't actually looking for a fight here, not at first. His main focus, his big prize, was still the Jin dynasty over in China. He looked at the massive, wealthy Khwarezmian Empire and saw a golden opportunity for trade, a vital link on the Silk Road. So he sends this message, and it's pretty clear, right? He's not talking conquest. He's talking commerce and peace. But Shah Muhammad, he wasn't buying it. Not for a second. See, he was already dealing with a bunch of his own internal problems, like a nasty conflict with the Caliph of Baghdad. And on top of that, his spies in China were sending back these absolutely terrifying and probably exaggerated reports about how brutal the Mongols were in their war against the Jin. He just could not wrap his head around the idea that these nomads actually wanted peace. And all that suspicion, all that paranoia, it all leads to one single catastrophic moment. This is it. This is the point of no return, where diplomacy completely collapses and the path to war becomes absolutely irreversible. We're talking about the Otrar incident. Just watch how this goes from bad to worse to unbelievably bad. First, this huge 500-man trade caravan shows up in the border city of Otrar. The local governor, who happens to be a relative of the Shah, decides they're all spies and throws them in jail. Okay, bad start. But Genghis Khan, he's still trying to keep things cool. He sends 3 diplomats to sort it out. And this is where the Shah makes the worst decision of his life. He has the lead envoy, a Muslim, executed on the spot. Then he shaves the heads of the other 2 Mongols, which is a massive insult, basically saying, "You're my slaves," and sends them home. And as if that wasn't enough, he then orders the execution of every single merchant in that original 500-man caravan. So here's the thing you have to understand. For the Mongols, this wasn't just a political insult. It was a profound violation of their most sacred laws and traditions. Envoys, ambassadors, they were untouchable, sacred. To harm one was the ultimate declaration of war, done in the most offensive way imaginable. There was no going back from this. Genghis Khan was, by all accounts, absolutely enraged, and he began to prepare for total war. What the Shah clearly didn't get was that he hadn't just provoked a simple border dispute. No, he had just invited a revolutionary new kind of warfare to his doorstep. He had unleashed a storm that was about to sweep his entire empire away. And this comparison just lays it all out perfectly. The Shah had a massive army, maybe 400,000 men. But he was so paranoid that his own generals would overthrow him that he split his forces up, scattering them in defensive garrisons across dozens of cities. It was a purely defensive, static strategy. The Mongols, the complete opposite. They were one unified, highly mobile killing machine under a single brilliant command. And they didn't just fight battles, they used terror as a deliberate, calculated weapon of war. The Shah made another critical mistake too. He assumed the Mongols were just horsemen from the steppe, totally clueless when it came to attacking fortified cities. Oh, how wrong he was. Genghis Khan was a master of adopting new technologies. He had absorbed Chinese siege engineers into his army, and they brought the whole toolkit with them. Massive trebuchets, catapults, even early gunpowder weapons like mortars. They had specialized units that could build bridges, divert rivers, you name it. And backing it all up was an incredible spy network that gave them intel on everything. And so, in 1219, the Mongol storm breaks. the invasion begins. And the speed and pure savagery of it was just unlike anything the region had ever seen. The Mongols didn't just conquer cities. They systematically erased them from existence.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's breathtakingly fast. The campaign starts in the fall of 1219. By February of 1220, Genghis leads his army on a march that everyone thought was impossible, straight across the brutal Kizilkum Desert to pop up and surprise the city of Bukhara. 1 month later, the capital city of Samarkand falls. The entire heart of this massive empire was ripped out in just a few months.
And the Mongols made sure their vengeance became the stuff of nightmares. Inalchuk, that governor of Otrar who started this whole mess, when they caught him, they reportedly executed him by pouring molten silver into his eyes and ears. After taking Samarkand, they piled the severed heads of the city's defenders into massive pyramids. This wasn't just random violence. This was calculated psychological warfare designed to horrify people and crush any and all will to resist.
But the horror, it reached its absolute peak at the city of Urgench. After a long, brutal fight, the Mongols finally took the city and unleashed a massacre on a scale that's hard to even comprehend. One historian wrote that each of the 50,000 Mongol soldiers was given a quota: execute 24 civilians each. That's an estimated 1.2 million people killed in one city. It's considered one of the single bloodiest slaughters in all of human history.
And at the exact same time, another Mongol army, this one led by Genghis's youngest son, Tolui, was tearing through the province of Khorasan. During one siege at the city of Nishapur, Genghis Khan's own son-in-law was killed. The order for revenge was absolute. Tolui's forces didn't just kill the people, they killed every living thing in the city, down to the very last cat and dog, to ensure nothing survived.
So, what happened to the man who set all this in motion? Shah Muhammad, the powerful ruler of a vast empire, was reduced to a hunted fugitive, chased across his own burning kingdom by two of Genghis Khan's greatest generals, Jebe and Subutai.
It's a pretty pathetic end, really. This man who once commanded armies of hundreds of thousands fled with just a handful of followers to a tiny, miserable island in the Caspian Sea. And there, in December of 1220, he died of pneumonia, a sick and broken man. His entire empire gone in less than a single year. The Khwarezmian Empire was gone, completely obliterated. But the story doesn't end there. The legacy of this war would go far beyond the smoking ruins of Central Asia. You see, it planted seeds of conflict, seeds that would eventually help tear the Mongol Empire itself apart from the inside. Okay, so this is where it gets really fascinating, because this war wasn't just fought on the battlefield. It caused a massive rift inside Genghis Khan's own family. During that tough siege of Urgench, his sons started fighting. Jochi, the eldest, had been promised the city, so he wanted to negotiate a surrender to preserve its wealth. But his hot-headed brother Chagatai accused him of being weak, and some even say questioned his legitimacy. The argument got so nasty that Genghis had to step in and give command to his third son, Ogedei, just to stop the fighting. This move completely alienated Jochi for good. And you have to understand, this wasn't just some brotherly argument that blew over. This resentment, this bitterness, it festered. It passed down through the generations. Decades later, Jochi's descendants, who would go on to rule the Golden Horde, ended up going to war with the descendants of his brother Tolui, who were ruling Persia. The very first Mongol civil war had its roots right here, in the rubble and arguments of the Khwarezmian campaign. So it brings us all the way back to that first big question. Was all of this inevitable? Just two expanding empires destined to collide? Or was this whole catastrophe really just the tragic result of a few terrible choices? A governor's greed, a shah's paranoia, and an emperor's unforgiving sense of honor. It really makes you think about how the decisions of just a few people can unleash consequences that literally reshape the world.